Welcome to Pleiadian Talk with Rock and Larry Locken. We're joined again today with Michelle Walling and Sara Browne, and we're going to discuss some interesting information today, like dark energy, disinformation, and various groups of ET races that are here from the stars to help out with our ascension phase. And Michelle, I'd like to welcome you to the program all the way from Fort Worth, Texas, I believe, and from Toronto, Ontario, Canada, her favorite city in the world, Sara Browne. Welcome.
Hi, Sara. Hi, Larry.
Hi, how are you guys?
I'm
doing great.
good.
How are you?
Good.
Good.
I really
enjoyed.
I really enjoyed our talk yesterday, and I'm really excited to talk about some things that I think our listeners are very curious about, and that is dark energies and the purpose of the dark side in our evolutionary path, as well as disinformation that has flooded the New Age propaganda itinerary to confuse humanity and to keep them in the dark, so to speak, as to what's really happening. And I'm excited to be here with you as a Pleiadian representative and with Sara as a representative of a secret community that she is maybe going to spread a little light on with her connections that she has. So as well as myself, I feel like I'm connected with a multi-dimensional, multi-universe group that has been all around and has given me the experience I need to share information with all groups of beings.
Well put. I agree with you totally, and I think that it's a good thing for us to come together and share this kind of information. And I thought maybe we would start off with talking a little bit about dark energy, getting some of the negative stuff out of the way. Dark energy definitely is a part of who we are. At the same time, I feel like we're in this phase right now where it's clearing from the plane of Earth, from Gaia. A lot of this negativity is coming to the surface right now because we're clearing it, and it's kind of rearing its ugly head for one final blowout. I mean, dark energy dies hard, and I think that's what we're seeing right now.
Yes, I call it extreme polarity. How the Illuminati could be serving humanity is an article that I wrote about that, but I know that Sara has something that she can add to that. Sara?
About the Illuminati? Or
about the dark energies and how they could possibly be helping humanity.
From us, it comes from the split of ourselves. We have to emerge with our own selves and transmute it to light, and that's what I believe is happening right now. Each side has a role to play with our evolution to show who we are as both dark and light, and to be able to understand and interpret that, to teach others that we are all dark and light, but we're one, we're the same. There's no one higher than anybody else. There's no one more intelligent than anybody else. It's just that the dark energy is a great fighter. But how far are people willing to go to bring out their own truth? That's the emergence of dark and light, is people have to stop fighting with themselves and accept who they are for who they truly are, and be one with themselves, find peace within themselves, because there's always going to be that challenge of darkness within the consciousness, because that's conscious. It doesn't matter if you are a fifth dimensional being. It doesn't matter if you are a sixth dimensional being or higher. That is consciousness. That's balance. It's when the energies become unbalanced, there comes friction. Instead of having that singularity, you have the polarity, which is friction between the two forces. So basically, we can't live without the other.
I agree. And within polarity, in the third dimension, we are experiencing the extreme polarity of light and dark, and we go through what we call the dark night of the soul, which is trespass through the dark energies that we've carried from parallel lifetimes, which could be past or future lifetimes. And through our emotional body, we planned to transmute those energies in this lifetime to be able to move to a higher fifth dimensional frequency. And from what I understand, I'm going to ask you, Sara, on this if you agree. Within polarity of the fifth dimension, instead of the extreme dark and extreme light polarity, from what I understand, we will explore the polarity of the light, which can have not dark in it, but can still have polarity. Does that make any sense?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So what we learned from here of this extreme polarity situation, we take that wisdom with us. We don't forget what we learned here, because we have to take that knowledge to the higher realms. There's always going to be polarity. That's the balance of the universe, of the whole universe as a whole. But we will have more understanding of how
Hello?
and to have the understanding of how the universe works. I don't know how the
Yeah.
as long as we
No,
don't
no, we're
have
here. Sorry, you
the
were cutting
understanding
out.
of how the game is, the friction. Can you hear me now?
We can hear you. We just
You're
have
just on a delay.
we have a delay, and every
Yes, I
now and
know.
then you're cutting out a bit, but it's picking back up. So continue.
Yeah, it's fine. Go ahead.
Okay, so this polarity is there's always going you go up to the fifth dimension, there's going to be some polarity there, because that's consciousness, and we're still learning how to master ourselves emotionally and consciously through thoughts, and how it affects.
I think we may have lost her, Larry.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, that delay is kind of crazy to deal with, but I think what she was talking about is true. And you go up into these higher dimensions, and there's so many different energies, and everything is agenda based. And it just goes to show you that everything is an agenda, whether it's for light purposes or for dark purposes. Everybody's got a mission that they're on, and every being in every dimension is on their own experience and on their own journey. And these are things, like Sara, you were saying, as you get higher up in the dimensions, you realize that you start seeing more of this, and you're more aware and more equipped to deal with and know that. But still, it's the case where that polarity does exist to a point as far as that goes. You know, almost completely up until you get to the oneness with Creator.
Polarity has, as long as the universe goes around and keeps creating, there will always be a universe. That is the game. That is balance. There will always be polarity. If there was no polarity, how can we create if we all stop thinking and feeling and thinking that everything is just hunky-dory. There's always going to be polarity. But now that we understand what polarity is and the dark energy, we are able to transmute that into light. We have more on our own thoughts because we are, and that has nothing to do with the physical world. That's thoughts and emotions for our own action will remain. We are all responsible for everything. There's no one that can point a finger at a person or that dark or that light or that whatever. It's you. It's me. It's a stranger in the street. We have to take ownership for what we have created from the past, from the long distant past, and to the future. That's our responsibility. Of our thoughts.
Yeah, I completely agree with
kind
you
of
that. Yeah, no, go ahead. Sorry. Anyway, what I was trying to say is that, and I think that ties into too, the next thing, it's how it works, but then it also plays into the disinformation factor, which we were going to, talk about next. Disinformation and how it's created and why it's created. And I think that gets into it a little bit more intricately as far as, this lesson that we're trying to learn. We're trying to learn, how to be one with ourselves. And I think it takes all these sides to show us, to trip us up a little. Maybe disinformation is put out there ultimately to get us to think things through and do not just take everything for face value, to use that discernment. I don't know, Michelle, what are your thoughts on that?
Mm-hmm.
Well, what I'd like to suggest is, Larry, while you talk about this, Sara, if you could close out all of your other programs, maybe we could get a faster connection with you. And Larry, I wonder if you could go through just a little bit, if you could go through Mark Passio and the New Age bullshit. Are you familiar with how he describes disinformation as a lot of the New Age terminologies?
I'm very vaguely familiar with him. I know we had talked about him one time before. Is his mantra basically is that the New Age just is completely disinformation, or that there's some good in it? I'm really not too familiar with him, to be quite honest.
Well, I don't actually listen to him, but what I have gained from what other people have said, I actually personally can't take his energy, but that doesn't mean that what he's saying is not true. It just means that his energy doesn't resonate with me completely. But from what I understand, he is labeling a lot of the love and light groups that are just out there, holding the light and don't have to, have any, say they don't have to act on anything. Their action is love. There's a lot of books as well that have a lot of disinformation that say all we have to do is just, meditate and be in love and be in peace, and that's not good enough, he says. But my argument in that disinformation and calling everything New Age is that, our English language is so vague, and it's really created to confuse us and used against us in many ways, that to label one thing as New Age, to label it, just put a broad label as, oh, that's New Age bullshit, really isn't right, because there are some things that can serve different purposes. There are people on this planet that only came to this planet to hold the light. and to be love. And we needed those particular people, and those are groups that are in New Age movements. So we do need that. It's not to be dismissed 100%. However, there have been some infiltrations in the channelings over the last 5 to 10 years, I would say. There's off and on, to where there have been beings that can pose as Archangel Michael or other light archetype beings, and they are
Yes,
very
absolutely.
good. They
I've
are
seen
very
it
good at
before.
what they do. And
They're
I know
very
Sara.
good. They're very good. And if I could add one thing to that, Michelle, too, I come across those, or I haven't in a long time because I don't watch them as much as I used to, but I could really, because I would watch them without any judgment and at the same time just soak in what I wanted to. And you could hear the little undertones. It wasn't so much ever the wording they were saying. It was just like the undertones in the ones here and there that you would run across that were beings posing as an archetype or this other well-known light being or whatnot like that. And you can just feel that dishonesty, that disinformation energy coming from it. You know, and it may be something so subtle as the voice tone changes just a little bit from
Well,
what.
normally what they do is they spread a lot of truth, and then they have that one disinformation tag to pull you in a different direction than what you need, the way you need to go.
Right.
And that's what a lot of channelings and books that Mark Passio was referring to has a lot to do with the disinformation and the Illuminati trying to pull people in the wrong direction. And I know Sara has some information that she would like to talk about on these beings that are so tricky.
Yeah, tell us how tricky they are.
These beings. Well, that's what they're called. That's what we call them. My guides and I would call them tricksters. The ones that like to pull the wool over your eyes to make you believe what they want you to believe and to forget your heartfelt truth. That's kind of thing I was talking about last night. Your heartfelt truth. Everybody knows the truth. If you want to go and find information, you better ask yourself first. And if you need to go outside to seek outside yourself, identification. Because no one is going to tell you the truth outside. Not at this time. No one. And that's the disinformation that is being brought out there is mountains full, a mouthful of shit. I used to watch to listen to the channelings, and I personally, for me personally, I don't believe in not one person channeling.
Well, I like listening to them because I like.
There are those.
Yeah.
There are those that do channel, and then there are those that speak a different language. They say something that they don't want to say. It's, they tell something, they tell a story, they tell you that they're coming, they're on their way. While the reality is, no one is coming to save their asses.
But sometimes too,
this is up to us to do.
Of it, though. The entire message, you know what I mean? Exactly. You have those channelings out there that yes, we're coming on June 24th at 3:30.
To discern
discern. But there's some good knowledge out there too.
You have to really look. There is a tremendous, awesome, incredible knowledge. That is a given. That is a given. But always look within before you believe it's the gospel truth.
No, there's people I know. There's people
ask
that
yourself questions.
Right. There's people that just completely hang on every single word of all these channelings that are posted, and I get that. And that, every single word.
It's just like watching. It's just like watching the news. People say, "Oh my God, that's happening over in this country," but really, that country is not actually. That's not what's happening. So it's the same media bullshit that's all over the world to screw people's minds and to keep them distracted. What it is a distraction to keep you from knowing the truth about yourself. Because if you knew the truth about yourself, you would know exactly who they are. You would remember.
Well, and there's some channelings that convey
See,
it
the
that
whole
way
fear
too.
factor is not them. Yeah. I
I mean,
think
some do.
that
So discernment is really important. I agree, and I'm able to watch those videos and take what I
I
want out
mean,
of them.
with
And
anything,
yeah,
it doesn't matter, whether you read a book, whether you listen to a channeling, whether you're talking to people, always take it through the heart, not the head. Take it through the heart, process it, and seek that extra information of truth within yourself. Because everybody knows when somebody's not that is spreading bullshit.
well, I think so too. And the ones that really
That
resonate with me,
don't, people are just right now. I think a lot of them are so desperate to hang on to something that someone is going to save them because of their own fear, and it is that own fear of wanting to be saved is creating these beings of disinformation. They are manifesting it because they want to be saved so bad. They want these people to come and save them. That's sad. That's really sad.
It really is, because it really
That's very
shows
sad.
that they're missing the boat entirely
It's
when
very
they're hung up on an ascension date per se, or this portal gateway, that portal gateway. I mean, take it for what it's worth and what it means, which they're all important, but take it for what it's worth and what it means, and not get hung up on, oh, this is the big, huge thing where we're going to be saved, or somebody's coming to save us. Well, we need to save ourselves. I mean, we are our own ETs we've been waiting for, so to speak. So I agree with you on that 100%. And a lot of times when I hear a channeling, when a channeling resonates with me completely, I will have already thought about it like a week before, or in conscious kind of dialogue with my Pleiadian guides. It will come to me, and then I will hear it like a week later. That it used to happen all the time to me when I was watching those on a regular basis. So, and then others, you can kind of take what you want out of it and go from there. But yeah, we get in these fear games with ourselves where we want this big thing to come save us, these mass amount of ships or whatever, and it's going to happen on this date.
Because you have to, you like to call them dark T-shirts because that's what they are. They're fake light. Okay, I don't per se like giving them, like labeling them, because that gives them power, and I don't like, So I think it's very sad to see people clinging on to something, but what's really sad is that these other beings that's supposed to be of light is taking advantage of humanity, especially when they are in crisis and they are desperate in war-torn countries and all those types of countries. I think it's really sad.
But,
it actually makes me kind of angry.
Well, me too. But on the other hand, though, when you think about it, it might not be such a bad thing. Okay, at least they're tuned into wanting to know more, even though they're hung up on a date, or they're hung up on this activation or that ascension. I mean, they're still, my hope is, and I've seen some people that have turned a little bit and awakened more and more and realized that you have to use discernment. I mean, whereas I already innately knew to do that, more and more people seem to be like they are too. So, on one hand, it's not such a bad thing either, but yeah, it really is frustrating to see them get hung up on a name, or a date, or a title, or a subject,
Exactly.
But at the same time, like I said, at least I have to look at it in a positive light, that at least they're looking at it, at least they're looking into it, and at least they're, I don't know, in the beginning stages of consciously thinking about it, so that's one way to look at it as well. But that's just kind of my thought on it.
There is a positive side to it, but when certain it's when they start recruiting, there's a problem, because you see the dark one, this dark energy, these Illuminatis or Zionists, whatever you may want to call them, they are going to fight to the very end. That
Well,
is
yeah, it's all part of the dark
the
energy
reality.
clearing that is
And
manifesting, and we're
so
in that
you
right
have
now.
disinformation. You have disinformation coming up from channelings, coming up from this side, this side, this side, because they know the desperation to use that has the weapon. They're going to use it as a
Exactly.
weapon. The more, because you know they can depopulate, they can kill us off, but at the end of the day, how are they going to enslave us? They cannot enslave us unless we enslave ourselves, and that is conscious. That's fear. So anybody that is fearing, anybody that has self-doubt about themselves is in big trouble. They are vulnerable to these types of attacks. And I do call them attacks because that is exactly what they are. Attacks. They may sound lovely, they may sound of light, they may sound glorious, but they are attacks. They are attacking. It's a form of an attack
It is, but there's
on
also an
vulnerable
agenda.
people.
Again, back to the agenda-based thing, though. There's
Everything
all these
has
agendas. These are all agenda-based, and
everybody.
it's like
I
there's
have an
so many
agenda.
levels.
You
But
have
there's
an
so many levels too, so it's not just as simple as it's the dark versus the light. There's so many intricacies that go into these various scenarios, and so many agendas, and it just goes to show you got to really process everything through your heart, like you said, and use
well,
discernment
if you
in every moment
yeah,
you're
if you
in.
erase if you erase the illusion from the agenda, you'd see the bigger picture. Because the agenda is what's in between the light and dark. It's in between. That's illusion. It keeps you from knowing the truth. That's what agendas are for.
Yeah, no, I agree definitely. It's to suck off of that lower vibration,
It
and
keeps you separate from the
yeah,
truth. Yeah, and it keeps you separate.
I agree
I think
completely, and we
there's
do it to ourselves.
I think there's
And
also light
someone
agenda
can come
too.
forward. Oh, absolutely, absolutely, and they make it and they make it very well known.
Hmm. But the ones of the false light, they need our energy to exist, and so that's why they don't just wipe us off the planet. That's why they're slowly have an agenda for depopulation that will leave. In their minds, they think they're going to be successful with this, to where they leave an amount on the planet, say 500,000 people, that they can still keep in such a low vibration and suck off
Yes,
the energy from them, and then they have the planet to themselves.
Yeah,
That's the reptilian and Draco
yes,
agenda of this planet.
yes, that is true, and
yeah,
it's not
and
working out for
in a
them too
nutshell,
well.
basically, no. But they're not going down without a fight, and they will be there until they can no longer exist in the vibration of Earth. They will be here fighting till the bitter end, and I'm glad to see that it's kind of turned
And
the
so
tide a
will
little bit.
we.
But yeah, exactly, and so will we. Their food once their food supplies cut off and people are awakened a little bit more as a collective, there's just going to be no way for them to exist in that high of a vibration.
I agree.
Yeah.
Now, however, there are also groups that are responsible for assisting humanity, and their
Yes.
agendas lie around the fact that Earth is the lowest vibrational density planet where you can incarnate physically, and when Earth's base
Mm-hmm.
vibration is raised, it affects our galaxy and our universe, and the effects will be felt around the cosmos. It will definitely help the upliftment of all of these other planets or races or beings, whatever you want to call them. I mean, some planets are actually
Mm-hmm.
sentient beings themselves.
Yes.
So there are several groups. I'm just going to name the major players, and then I would like to ask Sara to make sure that I got all of the major players that really we need to know about down here. So we have, of course, we have the Pleiadians. And keep in mind, with every group or race of extraterrestrial beings, you're going to have polarity. So you're going to have extreme dark beings, you're going to have extreme light beings, and then you're going to have some that are neutral. You're going to have, within the extreme light beings, you're going to have some that have agendas just out of service to self. And then I would say the majority of the Pleiadians, however, are pretty much in between neutral and light, and they know that if they assist humanity, that it will in turn help them as well, because there is a lot of Pleiadian DNA genetics within humanity on the planet. Then you have Arcturians, you have Syrians, and you have, okay, go ahead and help me out here. I know we've got
Andromedans, we've got Alpha Centauri, Procyon. I mean, it's really, when you start getting down into the smaller star systems, we have here
the Orions
from all over. Orion, Zeta Reticuli.
Yes. Yeah, Zeta Reticuli, definitely. But I'm talking about the major players here. We have a lot.
Well,
but they're all.
Well, they are, but I think the four ones we're looking at: Andromedans, the Syrians, the Arcturians, and the Pleiadians, of course. And what?
I think there's one more we're missing, Sara.
Nibiru.
Yeah, that's it. So why don't you, if you wouldn't mind sharing with us your knowledge of Nibiru? Just a general, broad knowledge of. Start out with the Anunnaki and the origins of humans on the planet.
We got time for this show?
we are in zero time. Girl, we are in zero time. Yeah, so wherever you want to take it all over the board,
Let's talk about Enki and Enlil.
Yeah, let's go with and maybe
I can't speak about them personally. But I can't speak about them personally. That is not forbiddable. But I can tell you about a little bit about Nibiru. It is inhabited by human beings, the human race. Of course, Avalon or Avalon, the first Earth. They were an Apec species that were living there in Lyra, Avalon, one of the planet was was destroyed. There's a group of Apec beings. If you guys don't know what Apec is, it is it's like an ape-like species that walked straight on two legs. The Lyrans came from a different universe. I don't know. No one really knows where they came from, but they came from a different universe 22 million years ago, because they themselves had finished the universal game. So once you finish the universal game, you get to explore and recreate again. That's how it works. The universal game works. So they graduated, they came into our solar system, and they themselves genetically rearranged themselves with the APEC DNA. They did not touch the APEC and change them. They changed themselves. Over time, evolution came, and they had more human-like features. But still maintained the Lyran consciousness, due to the fact that they had their etheric guides or elders with them. Over time, evolution came, and they started to fall asleep because you have to understand they went to a third density to procreate, to evolve as a first experiment. So Nibiru, after the Great Galactic War, there was, oh God, there's so much. Let me see.
Could I interrupt?
Okay, let me give
Whoever
you.
has the music in the background, could you either turn it down or mute?
Oh,
Yeah, it's
oh,
not
it
me. It
doesn't.
sounded like an ice cream
Yeah, I'll
truck
close
going
up my
by.
ice cream truck.
Oh, you have an
Yeah.
ice cream truck. You want to take a 5-minute break and get some ice cream, Sarah?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I'm allergic to milk.
They're usually a ripoff.
I am lactose intolerant as well.
They are.
So, Sarah, I like the
Me too.
direction you're going with this, and if you could
Okay.
elaborate on the misinformation that humanity has perhaps been fed on how, you said that they changed their own DNA. They didn't, were there slaves involved? Did they come to the earth and
No.
create human slaves?
No. No. The
Tell
So
us
Lyrians
a
how does
little
that
bit.
tie in now?
came 20. Okay. It all ties in. Okay, because you cannot have humans without the Lyrians. Okay, so I'm going to break it down to who parent race is who.
Yeah.
First, the humans. Nibiruians in English means the humans, the human race. That's what Nibiruian means in English. We call them Anunnakis now, but their name is Nibiruian. Okay? They were created, their parent race are the Lyrians. We are descendants, most of us are the human species. The native human species are the direct descendants of the Lyran race.
Right, and from Lyra,
2 million years. Now,
right.
That's one race.
From Lyra, they went where? Right. And from
That's
Lyra,
one
they
race. Now.
Right.
Okay,
And
so,
from Lyra, where did they go?
Okay,
Yeah, that's
from Lyra, that's one. Just hold on. Yes, just hold on now.
We're excited. We can't.
We are. We want to know. Yeah.
Just listen. Okay, so listen. There's another race called the Carians. The Carian race is called the bird people. You see them in all of the Sumerian and the Egyptian texts, hieroglyphics. They're half people, half with beaks, with wings. Some of them were actually look like humans with wings. This is where you get your biblical text of angels or the eagle. Okay? They represented the eagle. This Carian race came to Earth, to the most tropic swampy areas. They themselves genetically rearranged their own DNA with reptiles. This is the parent race of the Draconians, the dragon race. Are you following?
Totally. Keep going.
Okay. Now, when the human race was created, they were taught, they were given a creation myth. Every race has a creation myth in which they are to complete their universal game. The creation myth of the Nibiruians or Anunnakis or the humans, whatever you want to prefer to call them, were to come and to teach everyone heartfelt compassion through example. That includes the reptilian and draconian race. Heartfelt compassion towards all. The creation myth of the draconians from their parent race, the Carians, is for them that they are allowed to go to any planet on any universe in any solar system and galactic system and wipe out all the native species and to occupy any galactic system. This is where the polarity began. They went to Avalon and they destroyed. There was a great galactic war. On every single planet and every single universe was involved in that war. There was not one single universe or galaxy that wasn't involved in that war. When they destroyed, this is where the split happened. When they destroyed their home, their original home, that is when, because the Pleiades wasn't even occupied yet. They had native species there, okay? Native species like apex or other creatures. They wasn't even inhabited by humans.
Right.
Okay? When I say Pleiadians, I'm talking about human beings.
Yes.
You and I.
Right.
Okay? I'm not talking about an ET race or higher intelligent race. They're human beings,
yes.
People that give birth just like us women do. Okay? So when the Galactic War happened, the humans spread. The story of walking out of Africa. Well, they spread through all of the galactic system. To Orion, they went to Pleiades, they went to Sirius, they went to the Andromedans, they went all over, Arcturians, all over. There was more human beings than there are extraterrestrials living in all parts of the universe. When they spread, they inhabited all these planets because they had nowhere to go. Their home was destroyed, and through that came more polarity because they fell more asleep. They kept falling. People talk about the falling angels. Well, to me, those are the falling angels. We are the falling angels, and this is where the incarnation began. So today we are in the flesh and blood, but really we're still dealing with what happened in the past. The Anunnakis are still Nibiruans, and like every culture, every race, you have a bad seed in every race. It doesn't matter. You have bad seeds here. They did do those things. They did enslave. They did rearrange it in the DNA. They did do that. They became warmongers. They became savage people. They did do those things because they forgot. So most of them forgot their creation myth, and they rearranged their own species, their own human species, because they forgot. That's what you call amnesia. Did we not forget our own past? This is why we are waking up today. We're dealing with that past. But they have turned and they have evolved, and through this evolution, they've evolved into light. The lies about them is to keep us in fear. Why do you think there's such savageries in certain cultures today? They're still being savaged on today, even though that they have transmuted themselves into light.
And
they are a part of the Galactic Federation worlds. They are the 12 councils.
I believe the minions that they left here on the planet, some of them don't realize they've turned into the originating species has turned to the light.
No, that's the thing. They do know, and they're angry.
Okay.
They are the hybrids. They are the hybrids, the ones that have been rearranged. They are the hybrids. The ones that are left here are angry. They know. But
They know
but they
what?
also chose
They know the
because
truth
they
is
were
what you're
left
saying.
behind.
Okay.
Yes, and because they didn't ascend.
Now, did they
They
not have a
left them
choice
here.
because they took humanity's free will choice, and so thus they didn't have a choice?
Exactly. Exactly.
An eye for an eye, eh?
Yeah, good old eye for an eye.
Pretty
Yeah.
much.
Yep.
Pretty
Karma's a
much.
Exactly.
bitch.
Karma
Um,
is a bitch. If you do what
Karma's a
you've always done, you'll
bitch.
get what you've always gotten. So these humans that are all over it almost sounds like when Lyra had that issue happen during the Orion-Lyran Wars, it almost sounds like there was a movement of human beings on all planets and all dimensions, a movement of them out towards this part of the galaxy where Earth is, per se,
Yes.
where Mars is,
Yes.
where these planets, where the
You say
Pleiades
the
are,
mass.
right? And even at that, the Pleiades had
Yes.
all kinds of inner conflicts and cosmic wars with each other, in the cluster, why they were trying to get settled in and why they were trying to grow. So that, their evolution did not stop once they colonized the Pleiades. They still had Pleiadians on, lower dimensions that were trying to ascend, that were fighting with each other in Star Wars type
Well, the
wars.
Palladian, but you
So
have to understand that the Palladians are the humans. There's no such
yes,
thing
they
as
are.
they are the humans. So yes, you have those humans that fell asleep, and those are
Right.
the ones that were rearranged. The people that are that we are fighting against are our own flesh and blood.
Right.
That's why divide and conquer was
Divide
such
and
a big
conquer.
deal, because if we were to get together, I'm going to say, if there's 50 people in one room, one side was awake and one side hated your guts because they're asleep and they don't understand what's happening. But then all of a sudden 50 people started talking. What do you think would happen? You'd start figuring things out. You start figuring out the truth of what happened. That is the
Exactly.
divide and conquer. So these Palladians, these Syrians, all these beings, all these people here are beginning to awaken to who they are. The ones that are left behind, the reptilians, those are hybrids. They're half human, half reptilian.
So when you talk about humans, being in Sirius, whether they're in Andromeda or the Pleiades, they
Yes.
may they may look, and they may look different compared to, as opposed to what planet they're on. They may have a different skin color. They may have, different blotches of shades of color on their skin. They may be shaped just a tiny bit different. Humans,
Yep.
I think we've also adapted to every planet that we're on, whether it's in Sirius or the
Yeah, we're
Pleiades.
all
The
here.
human race is
Exactly.
adapting to
Right, I
wherever their
agree.
surroundings are. Yeah.
Now,
Well, there
and
was.
Sarah,
Go ahead.
does our DNA, do we have, as part of the solution to the warring, don't we have DNA from the Arcturians, the Sirians, the Pleiadians, the Orions, the Andromedans, the Zeta Reticulans? Don't we have some of their DNA because of all the interbreeding?
Some of them. Some of them were not allowed to interbreed with us. Some of them came from actual animals, and this is where you would get the crocodilian race.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, some of them interbreeded with animals. The most important race are the Lyrans,
Mm-hmm.
because they create the humans. Now, there were other species. Like, I don't know the original species of Sirius. They're a native species.
Dog
They're
and cat,
tall.
lion.
That's right. That's right. And so they interbreeded. Now, some parts of Sirius, you have 12 feet tall people.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah.
People will call them Nephilims with the elongated heads. You can even see it on the Egyptian hieroglyphics.
Yeah.
Peru, the skulls are all over the place. They are also too human beings, human hybrids. Their skin is normally blue because of the sun, the UV rays they get from the sun. Some beings, like the Centaurians, are gray. Some of them mix them up with the grays, but they're not grays. The kind of grayish, bluish, sometimes grayish green because of the sunlight that they get, the kind of sun they get.
But I was under the impression that our bodies, we are the perfected DNA template.
We have certain groups that ET races that have contributed their DNA to create what we think of as Earth humans. As the story goes, the way I have heard it and had it conveyed to me, is some of these groups, whether it's some reptilians, the Pleiadians, Arcturians, and Sirians, they have contributed their seed to mix together to create a race here, and that's, that's how the story goes from what I hear.
Right, and when we all realize that we are all of them, then that's when we stop warring with each other.
Once you realize that you are one, you are them. You are them. That's when the war will stop. They are not you. There's no they. It's you. We are just incarnating in this time.
I believe that our souls, as our monads split into souls and have experiences, that each soul has a personality trait, that we get to experience physicality as an individual being connected to the one. And the problem that we have is that we forgot that we were connected to the one. So we still are ourselves. We still are the representation of all of the planets we've lived on, all of the species we've bred with. But we do originate. We have a spark of our Creator on loan from Creator come down into the lower dimensions to experience, because our Creator is such a large entity in the middle of the universe, or the cosmos for that matter, that it couldn't come down without sending a smaller and smaller and smaller spark of itself. So that's how we are all one. Yes. But we still get to keep our individuality as an aspect of that Creator being.
Yes, absolutely.
And so why are we fighting with each other? And how can we judge the dark? How can we judge those who took...
We can't.
The role
because
of
it's us.
The dark.
Because we created it.
Now, the ones that have the choice... had the choice, and will always have the choice until there is no more third-dimensional Earth, to raise their vibration. Forgiveness is something that we have to have, and compassion, because they have served a role in playing the duality creation game.
Exactly, and the prime example, they went through the exact, every species, every race, and different worlds and different universes have gone and are sometimes are maybe still going through the universal game, because that's balance. That balance.
And the universal game was created for extreme soul evolution, and that is why we made the choice to go experience. And when we experience, we bring back that experience to our Creator, and there's no better love than experiencing for the one who created you.
Exactly.
And it's really exciting how we're on this path now to getting back to the Creator, and as more people awaken, we're starting to realize that too, and keeping that in perspective and balance, that every human civilization in the galaxy, in the cosmos, for that matter, like Michelle was saying, for that matter, they've all gone through these, like you were saying, Sarah, they've all gone through these phases of learning.
Yes.
and evolving and coming back to the oneness with each other.
Nibiru, if you want to talk about Nibiru, Nibiru has, after the Galactic War, they selected 45 of each group, the major players of the war. This is how the Galactic Federation was formed. 45 humans, 45 Draconians, 45 Lyrans. That made up the Galactic Federation, in agreement that this will never ever happen again. That this kind of war will never ever happen again. So they are a Galactic Federation of peace. They are trying to negotiate not universal peace with all worlds.
Excuse me, Sarah. Would that be the same as the 144,000 groups of? Would that be like 3,200 groups of? Did you say how many? 40. How many did you say?
Did you say 45? How many you have?
How many people in each group?
There was 40. Well, back then there was 45 of each group.
45. I'm sorry.
So
well, 45.
45 of the
times
and these were parents.
Would be 144,000. Is that where that number came from? 3,200 groups of 45.
I'm not too sure about those
That's
numbers.
a coincidence.
But I know that
it is.
But you have to understand.
Yeah.
But you have to understand that these are parent races. So you have 45 Carians, those are the parent races of the Draconians. You have 45 Draconians that are the parent race of the Reptilians. You have 45 Lyrans that are the parent races of humans. Then you have 45 humans that are the ancestors of us.
Mm-hmm.
That made up the Galactic Federation of Worlds, which makes the Milky Way the oldest federation.
And Sarah, if I could ask you, do you think that ties into why they were so quick to act on after, Hiroshima and Nagasaki had the 2 nuclear bombs dropped on them by, well, guess who dropped them on them? But that sent all those vibrations throughout space, and they were worried, because they had said before, we're never going to let this happen again, and they were so quick to come up with a plan to incarnate indigos and the 3-wave souls and the crystal and the rainbow children into here. Without breaking the free will, they had to come up with a plan and backdoor in here. And I really do believe that has saved humanity. We probably would have had a nuclear exchange by the end of the 80s, I'm thinking, if that weren't the case, if they didn't come in and save.
If you want to take back, if you want to look back, let's say our parents came from the baby boomers. Right, the baby boomers. Those were the generation to carry the DNA codes. All the baby boomers carry the genetic DNA codes to pass on to us, the cellular memory. So when the age of the baby boomers came, that was yes, and you're correct, the plan.
Right, they were the pioneers, so to speak. I mean, you had them coming in as early as probably 1947, but most of them started coming in the 50s. And then as the generations progressed, more of this DNA coding is slowly opened up as you get into the 70s and the Blu-rays. Then you get into the indigos of the 80s and all that, and then the kids that are born, post 98 and on or so that have those extra strands open and connected. So this has been a process of it happening over a few generations, and within sub-generations of those generations, you see the subtle differences. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and Sara, I saw a video the other day that talked about how our codes are being activated through the sun, and I was wondering if you would share with us a little bit about whether you think the Nibiruans are here, and whether you think they are helping to bring the energy in from the sun in some way to activate our codes that will activate the rest of our DNA.
That would be the responsibility of Nibiru.
And do you feel like that they're here?
Yeah, yes, they are here.
Well, to expand further, in the video that I saw, there was, in the video that I saw, there was NASA video that as soon as it's like on the feed, NASA goes in and covers things up really quick. And so there's been people that have been monitoring the NASA feed and recording it right away. And some people say that Nibiru is actually behind the sun, squeezing the sun and pulsing the sun to bring these waves of energy to us that will activate our DNA and help free us from our from humanity being enslaved, and wake us up.
That's
and
correct.
Allow us to move out of this experience.
And here's
That's
another
correct.
thing to consider too on that, as far as Nibiru goes. What if it's just a misinterpretation? What if Nibiru really is Alcyone? Think about that. I mean, think about it, or they're right by each other. I mean, Nibiru, you know, I mean, that's pretty deep. And I just got this thought one time.
That's something else, Larry, because May 22nd, we just came in direct alignment with Alcyone, with the sun.
Yes.
What do you say about that, Sara?
Yeah, Sara, what is your take on that?
I'm not too sure just yet. I have to think about it.
It's something to think about, though, isn't it, at the very least? I mean, it really is something to think about, because you look at the alignment and you look at the stories that are told, and it's very possible that this second sun, or this, you know, and we're getting closer to Alcyone. Alcyone could very well be Nibiru.
I don't know, Larry. What I'm feeling, it could be.
I'm not sure either. I'm not sure, but
what I'm feeling is this. I'm feeling that that Alcyone is sending the energies to the sun, and from Alcyone it comes from our Creator to our great central sun, which is Alcyone, to our sun. And I'm feeling that if there is any assistance from Nibiru, they're pulsing those energies from the sun faster and faster waves to us.
Good point.
To help us. And that's what's causing all the earth changes.
And that could be what they're doing at the sun. That could be what they're doing is acting in that correspondence, like you're saying. I mean, it's very possible.
I think Nibiru is a traveling planet.
Yeah.
A traveling sentient being, which is a spaceship, just like Earth is a spaceship.
Exactly.
So that's why I don't think that Nibiru is Alcyone. I think Alcyone is part of the Pleiades, and is a sentient being as well.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what you're saying really ties that in. I mean, Nibiru could be helping out in that regard from Alcyone.
Yes.
And then, you know, there's people's interpretations of things. I think Nibiru has more to do with the Pleiades than people might want to think, and I'm just not sure how yet, except for I know that the human race that Sara says is on there. I mean, it could be receiving Pleiadian energies itself right now because of the location it's in, and so...
Well, I'd like to talk about my dream that I had, and then let Sara finish up with everything, if she wants to gather her thoughts on everything else she'd like to say about her. You know, she has the direct experience, I think, from her guides, her recent guides, and as to how she knows this information. And you can find a lot about this that she's shared with us on her website, and that is her heartfelt intention to get this information of the truth out to humans, because we have been so misinformed. And whether, you know, this resonates, whether this is the truth or not, it resonates with her, and it's up to you to go within and discern whether this feels right to you by the use of your body, or if you have an aha moment, oh, that makes perfect sense.
Right.
And everything that Sara or myself or Larry or anybody else on this planet has access to is part of the Akashic record of Earth. It's part of the it's copied into the Akashic record of the galaxy and of the universe. And as we begin to activate our DNA even more and become light beings, crystalline, celled light beings, we have access to those records directly within our DNA here, because it's like a macrocosm into a microcosm. So we can read those records just as anybody else, and with the help of people like Sara putting this information out there into the human consciousness, we're also connected that way, and we can access it that way. And there are other people that are starting to wake up and realize this, that are sharing this information. And so that's wonderful confirmation for what Sara has brought forth in her writings. And
Absolutely.
then so is it okay with you guys if I just quickly go through my dream?
Yes, yes. You mentioned a little bit to me about it earlier, and I'm just looking forward to hearing you describe it in your own words. So yes, yes, by all means, go ahead and let us know and take your time.
Well, this morning I woke early, about 5 a.m., and I listened to a video on the internet, and I got sleepy again. I had an immense wave after 9 hours of sleep to decide that I needed to go back to sleep, and so I did. Well, I dreamed, and I usually don't remember all of my dream, but I remember very specifically the metaphors involved in this. I dreamed that me and my son were driving in my 1978 Camaro I had when I was in high school. And we were driving around some properties, and we were trespassing on some land. So we were basically out getting in trouble driving in my car. Well, somehow we decided to go inside this corral. As you know, I live in Texas, and so in my mind, I'm thinking about like a big, huge horse corral.
Right.
And it was shaped in a figure 8. So once we're inside this corral, we're making the loop like a track in a figure 8, and we're realizing that once we were in here, we couldn't get out. And the fences were there were various types. There were some really tall chain links, and then there were some barn type fences, and it was just a mix match of different kinds of fences. They were all connected.
Yeah, hold on a second. I'm hearing some noise in the background. Sara, if you've got something on, can you turn it down? Okay.
I think Sara may have left the building.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead and.
Okay.
Yeah,
We're getting
so
some
sorry
feedback
to
from you, Sara. We got
Sara.
There she is. We had some feedback from you, darling, but we're okay now. Okay, so these fences were connected, but they weren't ground into the. It's okay. They weren't ground into the earth like with stakes or anything. They were like zigzag, to hold each other up in Z formations.
Right.
And so my son and I were sitting there thinking, how are we going to get out of this? And we realized, well, we could get out of the car and we could climb over the fence. That's an easy way to do it. And then we were thinking, no, but we need our car. We need our vehicle. And so we were thinking, okay, we could lift up the bottom of the fence and we could push the car through it, which doesn't seem logical, but there were people on the other side of the fence that we could ask maybe to help. And then we thought, well, how are we going to do that? And it just didn't make sense. And so logically, I looked at my son and I said, well, how did we get in here in the first place? And we thought about it, and we thought, well, we came through that gate. So we went back over to the gate in the car, and we realized that the gate was locked. And we thought, well, how did we get in, and how are we going to get out? And this rancher came up, this older guy, and he kind of this kind of heavy-set, real rough-looking, Texas rancher comes up.
Yeah,
and he goes, yeah, he's just walking real with his stride, and goes up, and he pulls out his keys, and he unlocks the lock on the gate. And then we looked at each other, and we felt bad because we had disrespected him, and we had driven all through his corral and on his land and everything. And so we sheepishly said to him, "Thank you, and may we leave now?" And he looked at us and he said, "Have you learned your lesson?" And so when I woke, well, I had another dream before I woke up, but the moral of this part is, to me, it came to me very clear that we must exit the way we came in. And the ones who caused the fall will be the ones who help us rise again. That was the message I got from this discombobulated dream, which didn't seem to make any sense. And that was one of the first times that a dream, besides a prophetic dream where I have dreamed something that was going to happen that did happen, that was the first time that I was really able to understand the imagery in a dream. And so to me, that kind of falls into place with the fact that the Nibiruans, who were responsible for the human race, and the ones, that turned to the dark and created the fall and the separation, are the ones that are going to help us get back out of it. They have the key to the lock, and that is pulsing the sun and allowing for an acceleration of our DNA. Now, I'll let y'all comment on that. I just want to finish up. Right before I woke up, I dreamed that I was in a lazy river of swimming pools all connected. And it was like a lazy river, but it was swimming pool after swimming pool after swimming pool. And I'm not much of a swimmer in my present life, but I was swimming and swimming and swimming, and I was having a good time. Well, come to find out, in the afternoon hours of wherever I was, they had a snapping turtle problem. And when the people got out of the pool, the snapping turtles would get in the pool, and they would just be swimming around. And so for me to be in there was the snapping turtles' time. And they were biting me in the ass, and I would put my hands back there to guard myself, and they would bite me in the hands. And it kind of hurt, but it didn't hurt that bad, and they weren't drawing blood because I don't think they have teeth, but they're just snapping away at me. Right before I woke up, I heard, "Look up the spiritual meaning of the turtle." And so I did as soon as I woke up. And the turtle is the symbol of the earth. It represents the ability to stay grounded even in the moments of disturbance and chaos. It's about slowing down and pacing yourself. It represents determination and persistence, emotional strength and understanding, along with ancient wisdom. It is also linked to the spirit of the water and the fluid nature of emotions. And after I put all that together, I went, oh my God.
Yeah.
The key to our exit here.
You just told a beautiful native.
If we realize who we are, if we realize the origins of humanity, if we know the truth about how we got here, and then we know how we're going to get out, which is the plan of ascension, of raising our vibration with the earth. We help the earth helps us. If we have patience and determination, and we stay grounded while the others that do not choose this experience fall away in chaos, then if we can realize that's what we're here for, then it makes it a piece of cake.
Exactly. We can quit beating our heads against a wall trying to walk through it when we could just step to the side and go around it.
We need our vehicles, our bodies, to do this. There have been many times that we've done this without our bodies. We know how to do this. We've done it before without our bodies, but this time we choose to use our body as the vehicle to exit this scenario. And Sara, I know that you have a lot of Native American family,
Yes.
and I just found it profound that after our talk yesterday with Larry on the air, that I had this dream, and so I wanted to give you confirmation that what you're doing is putting this out into the etheric field for people to tap into, and I want to thank you for that.
That is amazing. That is
You had
amazing,
a
Michelle, that you
very,
would have that
very
dream, those two
intense.
dreams together like that after our conversation. What Sarah had to say, that's incredible. I'm trying to take that all in, really, still. Yeah, and I mean,
So you
so
had
Sarah, yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
your grandfather teaching. All I have to say to you, Michelle, is miigwech. Thank you.
No, thank you. Thank you, Sarah.
I don't get
The
it.
turtle story. The turtle story. The turtle story is an old grandfather teaching of Turtle Island. We sit on Turtle Island. The Americas is called Turtle Island. And
yes,
for you
okay,
to interpret it, that dream, oh no, it's not. It's a vision.
Mm-hmm.
Big difference.
Well,
You
my
just
grandmother.
you just remembered the old grandfather teaching.
Mm-hmm. And my grandmother is the one that came to me in a reading and told me that I would know that she was with me and that she was influencing me every time I see a turtle.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So hey, I
That's
think we
amazing.
have a game plan, don't you?
I'm just
I think
blown away
so.
right now.
Yeah, I am too. I really am. That's wow. But
Now,
really, these
I'm gonna
synchronicities
sit.
are just par for the course. It's like.
So Sarah, let's talk about. We probably only have about maybe 15, 20 minutes, but if you want to, and Larry, let's talk about how the Merkaba in the body is going to spin once enough light is brought into the cells to trigger our DNA. Do you have any information about that, Sarah, and how that's going to take us into the next dimension where we, in essence, may disappear from the reality of the of what you call is now the fourth dimension into the fifth dimension?
Yes. Well, for one, if they stop spraying the chemtrails up in the skies to stop with to slow down the radiation from the sun, we would be there already.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what the chemtrails are doing. Yes, it's poisoning our food, but it's hiding Nibiru, and it's stopping the energies from coming in to the earth and to us. So that's one problem there. But it's through the heart. You're going to remember through the heart. Opening of the heart chakra is the solar flares. Your DNA, you have to be able to translate and to decode your own DNA, to translate it.
The Merkaba, though, Michelle, I was thinking of the word Merkaba exactly when you started to tell that about bending in our physical form, and that's how it's going to have to happen is through a Merkaba.
That's why we need our. That's why we need our bodies, and that's another reason why they're so hell bent on effing with our food. Because,
in our skies with chemtrails, exactly.
So I believe that through intention and awareness that we can manifest, though, bringing the light into our bodies, and as we talked about in our first show, we can heal those other parts of our soul and bring those soul parts of energy into our body, and as we raise our vibration with light, we can actually become to where this food does not affect us. We can actually become not susceptible to any interference of the frequencies on the planet that are bombarding us through television and symbols and sacred geometry of the dark. We can actually rise above that, and that's at the level now
Exactly.
that I am striving for, and I bless my food with my own love, which raises its vibration. I'm
Yep.
not saying that it doesn't completely affect me, but what I'm saying is I'm able to lessen the extent of their control on me through the vibrations. And by doing that, I'm keeping my body alive until the Earth can make her final push because of Nibiru. I'm saying if Nibiru is pulsing the sun to us, but because of the energy coming from
They
the
are
great central sun to our sun and to us, because of that pulse, when Mother Earth finally gets her final dose and pushes herself through, I'm trying to keep my body intact and alive for that. I think that's
Exactly.
my main goal
exactly.
now.
Yeah, I think mine
For
too.
me,
And just to
it's
stay
staying,
aware and
yeah, as close as you can to the earth. Your feet is the roots to the planet. Keep your feet in it. Don't be
stay
moved.
Absolutely.
Don't be swayed to
grounded.
move because that is all that we have left now is the roots of this planet.
Exactly. And by grounding ourselves and intentionally taking in the energies that are coming in from our sun and from our great central sun, we are anchoring that energy into the planet. And that's what the dark did not expect that we would do.
Exactly.
Now, I wrote an article
They didn't
today.
expect that we would remember.
No.
Yes.
Now, I wrote
No.
an article today that I'm releasing on CosmicStarseeds.com called How Sexual Relationship Can Assist in Evolution. And what it covers is the ability of the sexual Kundalini energy. Well, Kundalini energy is Kundalini energy, but it can be raised through sex. And when you raise your Kundalini energy through sex, you can clear your chakras out, which can allow you to bring in more of that light and ground it into the planet and help the earth get the energy she needs because it is being blocked at this time. That is how one way you can use the body, and it's been created for sexual procreation and for sexual energy. It allows you to it gives you emotion that allows you to transmute negative energies from past lifetimes. There's so many things in this article that are important. If we don't have any other way, we can use, right now, we can use sexual energy and love, and it has to be love from the heart, and it has to be love that's filled with trust. And I talk about that in this article.
That's fascinating, Michelle. It really is. And I think that that's the key, too. It has to be, that energy has to be out of love and good intentions and pure intentions. It can't be for any other motives as far as the sexualness goes. You know, I mean.
And don't panic if you don't have a sexual partner, because you can love yourself. And that's in this article. And it also talks about loving yourself is the #1 way to prepare yourself to receive the perfect love from another partner. And I hear you two giggling in the background.
Loving you easy.
I think it got me. I gotta get myself a one night. No, but I'm totally in love with myself.
We've got her all tongue-tied. No, that's not a problem.
You can love
to
yourself.
myself, so I'm good.
You know
You
that's
can
the
love
key.
yourself. You've got to
When
love
you
yourself.
Till death do we
it's so
die.
important, and I wrote well, till we ascend. But you know, and I wrote that book, that ebook, How to Ascend, and part of it is loving yourself. Everything is in every step is in that book on how we get around how what has been the obstacles that have been placed in front of us. But I topped it off with this sexual energy, and I have to thank my partner for that.
Yeah,
For
I was
bringing-
thinking that too, but I wasn't going to say if there had to have been some
Sweet.
inspiration, some divine inspiration there. Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yes.
For another rated R talk
Very
show.
important. Very. I can't wait to read the article.
So, guys, is there anything else that you'd like to add to wrap up this wonderful session we had today?
I would like
Yeah, I
to.
can't wait to read your article. Actually, that sounds good. I'm hoping to get some tips in it on improving my self-esteem.
Wow, what was that? Did you hear that, Larry?
What the hell? Did you just hear something say Nibiru?
Yes.
Someone did Nibiru.
Did you hear that? Sarah, did you
Yes.
say Nibiru? Oh my gosh, Larry.
That was a trip. Sarah,
That
did
was
you just
a
say
total
Nibiru?
trip. Oh my gosh, I can't wait to hear that again. I heard it, Larry.
I did too. I did
No.
too. I'm gonna have to as soon as we
Sarah,
get off
what we're
this, I'm gonna
talking
find it.
about is as Larry was talking, I think he was talking, a very fast voice came in and said, Nibiru.
Yeah, exactly like that. I'd swear it on anything. No question about it.
So I take that as a sign of communication and
I do have
confirmation. which
guides
happens
with me
all the
today
time.
that is on the show.
Well, that could be it.
Yes.
I mean,
Uh-huh.
there's been times where I've been talking to Michelle before, and I'll hear little Pleiadian tones coming back and forth over the computer, like the vibrational pulse they speak to me in. And that right there was really
That was
strange and
wild. I've never had that before,
that was
Larry.
very wild.
Well, we thank
Yeah.
all of our guides and all of the races, I call them races, but all the beings that we are. We thank all of them for all of the support that they give us. And everyone, just remember to be in your heart. Get out of your head. Get out of the confusion of all the
Get out of the chatter.
disinformation that has been put out there to keep us separate, to keep us light workers warring with each other, to keep the truth from being found within our heart, to keep us always looking outside of ourselves. Once we realize that and we get on the right track, believe me, you're tied in, and you know which direction to go, and there's no more fear. That is how you reduce the fear in your life.
I agree. Those are some really wise words from my Cosmic Awakening tag team partner, Michelle Walling. It's very true. It's very true. And just keeping a focus on that. And yeah, I think it's been a great show.
The one thing I'd like to congratulate all three of us on, because I don't mind congratulating myself when it comes to loving myself, and that is that when we first came together, all three of us on Facebook, we were just having synchronistic experiences, and we followed them, and we started communicating with each other last year.
Right.
And look who we've become. I mean,
Yeah.
Sara is now writing about the truth. Larry is forming groups and bringing soul groups together of, Pleiadian families. And I, fell into a relationship that provides a platform to reach thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people eventually. And I'm just so proud of us as to we're not looking to be leaders as much as we are coming forth out of compassion and love for humanity and providing information as being a teacher. And it's our truth. When you know your truth and you can speak it, people recognize that vibration, and it could listen, it could be what happens is completely different from anything that we ever could have expected and put into words. And if that's the way it goes down, and everything that I've ever written is, we can just laugh at it, then that's great. But I know that I'm helping people because people are
You are.
waking up. They're searching for answers, and I want to congratulate both of you for following your true path, and that is getting the information out there and bringing people together.
And I'd like to echo that to you two both. I see that in
Thank
both of you. You guys are probably the top two best writers in all these Facebook groups. Michelle, your articles just are outstanding, and they keep getting more and more conscious all the time, if that's possible, because they're all so great, and they flow to you, and they're so informative. And I really hope that more and more people really start reading them and digesting them, because a lot of the answers that they're struggling with and looking for can be found time and time again in each one of your articles that you post. And Sara, great job. Your writing is so articulate and so vast. And yeah, what a pleasure it is, of course, for me to be here and talk to you two, and just even be able to have a synchronicity like this. It's really great and humbling and honoring.
Well,
And I would like to thank you
congratulations
both.
to us for finding each other. And Sara, can you
Yes.
tell our listeners how to find your information again?
Yes. How do we find you on Facebook, Sara,
You
or
can
wherever?
find my information. I'm all over. Such a vast place.
Well, we know that.
We know that.
We know that, but narrow it down a bit for us in the galaxy.
Yes. Well, you can find me on my Facebook page, Rising Planet. I also have a group, Rising Planet is a group page as well. You can also find me at my website, which has blogs, videos, this talk show, and many other gadgets there at rising-planet.blogspot.com. And I just wanted to say one more thing about Nibiru, because I know that there is a lot of fear and a lot of disinformation about the beings, the people there, and about this planet. They are not here to destroy this planet. That is not their goal, nor is it their intention. They are not here to harm any living beings here, or the creatures. That is not their intention or their goal. Their goal is to ascend to this planet because she asked for their help, and to help the human race, to save them. There is no fear from them. And I just wish that people would do the research before judging until you know the whole story. Because what has been written and retold the complete story.
Yeah, and don't get hung up on a name. If I could just echo one thing on it, don't get hung up on the stigma of a title. Go within.
Don't get hung up on the name.
Sara, did Nibiru come in with Comet Ison, or is Nibiru Comet Ison? Or did it come in cloaked?
Yes, Nibiru is the same thing.
Okay, thank you for giving that to our listeners.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Thank you very much. I was thinking maybe it was the blue Kachina and Nibiru was the red, but yeah, cool. So Michelle,
Nibiru is the red Kachina.
Okay. So Ison is Nibiru. Ison is not the blue Kachina that they talked about coming before the red one. Okay. But anyway, I digress. Michelle, where can we find you per se? Where can we find you lurking about online?
You can find me in the fifth dimension, which would be.
I love it. Yes.
I got 1 foot in the fifth and 1 foot where I am now talking to you. But that would be the primary thing would be cosmicstarseeds.com. And then I do life coaching sessions to help people release their blocks and bring more light in through michellewalling.com. I'm a guest writer for N5D.com, And Larry, I'm very proud to have you as my co-host on our Cosmic Awakening show, which is sponsored by N5D Radio on Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time and 5 p.m. Pacific Daylight
On the West
Time.
Coast. Yes,
On the
thank you
West
for
Coast.
adding that Pacific.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's quite a bit. So that gives people a general idea where they can find you. People can find me lurking about on the Fringe Thinkers or the Pleiadians group, the Mothership group, almost 25,000 strong, or they can find me in any one of a number of regional Pleiadian groups. Too many to list now. Of course, if you go to Pleiadians groups and page index, you can see a list of all the Pleiadian groups, mine, as well as the others that are on Facebook. You can see them all there, as well as the pages, which I'd like to give a shout out to for the Pleiadian Light Grid Project. That's one of the pages that I'm involved with, Pleiadian Woodstock, and YouTube and Google Pleiadian Express Productions. So
Great.
I think that was enough plugs, and I'd like to plug again as well the Cosmic Awakening show, Thursday nights, 8 o'clock East, 5 o'clock Pacific. I know Michelle just said that, but you can never say it enough. So,
I enjoy that so much.
I do too, and it's been really incredible for me, and of course having you as a partner on there has been really exciting, and to have Sara here with us and chatting really adds a new dimension to it, and I really think this is a great thing too, and I love you guys very much, and I love everybody out there.
I love you, Sara.
Love you, Sara.
I love you too. Love you too, sis.
All right, y'all take care.
Y'all take care, and let's conclude this
right,
love fest. Okay, and we're off the air.